What's going on, guys? In this video we're going to be talking about SWOT within the context of business. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about SWOT. We already introduced what the acronym stood for, so I'm going to be starting with S, which stands for strengths. So as the one and only, the very, very famous Gary V says, is find out what your strengths are and double down on them, right? So when we're talking about this in a business aspect, I'm going to use a quick little story about when Chris and I started our business, Dynamic Duo Training. So when we first started, we were on an island. We didn't know what the hell to do. We were clueless about stuff. We figured, hey, we could be good at everything. We had strengths in all different areas. So we wore all the hats. So we were the accountant, we were the social media guy, we were the video guy, we were the coach. The list goes on. And as time goes on, when your brand starts building and your business starts building, you can't do all that. You got to understand that you have certain strengths that you are very good at, and you have a lot of weaknesses. So you have to delegate those weaknesses. So when it comes to strengths, you have to understand, what are you good at from a business aspect? Are you good at recruiting people? Are you good at doing social media? Are you good at doing videos? Are you good at branding? Are you good at just hiring people? I mean, the list goes on for that. So understand what your strengths is when it comes to a business aspect and double down on those.
All right, weaknesses. So what are you not good at? So I'll give you a little story too. And this is kind of what Gary Vee said too. He said, double down on your strengths and punt your weaknesses, right? So I did not have the self-awareness when I first started our business to know what I was good at and what I was bad at. So one of my weaknesses, and it still is one of my weaknesses, I hate numbers. I hate accounting. I hate taxes. I hate everything you could possibly think about when it comes to numbers or taxes or whatever when it comes to that. So
and he's not saying that anyone that does taxes or accounting, that's a bad career.
No, that each to their own what they like to do. I just personally don't like it. It doesn't work for me. I have no interest in it, okay? As long as I know like a baseline knowledge, I'm fine with it. But so what did I do once I knew that was one of my weaknesses? I hired somebody. We hired a bookkeeper. We hired an accountant so they can take care of that stuff, and I don't have to worry about that, because once I worry about that, it's going to take away from what my strengths are and what I'm very good at. Then I'm not going to be able to double down on those strengths. So I might as well hire somebody to cover my weaknesses. And I think that's one of the biggest things people don't really understand, is first to have the self-awareness on what you're not good at. If you don't know what you're not good at, why don't you try to ask 5 people that are very close to you, say, hey, be 100% honest with me. What am I not good at? What do you see that I'm not good at? Maybe they're going to tell you you're not a good public speaker. Maybe they're going to tell you you're not good at video, but you're good at writing. So maybe you should be doing blogging instead of doing videos. So it's just about being self-aware and knowing what your weaknesses are. And if you're not good at something, hire somebody that has those strengths to fulfill that need.
Okay, the next one is O, and that stands for opportunities. So we always get opportunities, when it comes to, running a business, when we're starting a business, the opportunity is endless here, especially in the time we are in right now, social media, everything. So don't complain about the opportunities not being there. So the first bullet point we can talk about is outsourcing. Chris kind of touched up on this earlier about, when we understood what our weaknesses were when we started our business. So right now, what we did was we outsourced, we have a personal assistant, which is a virtual assistant, which is out in the Philippines. She takes care of our podcast, a couple other miscellaneous things that we knew that we didn't want to deal with, nor we knew that we were good at. So we outsourced that. We have an amazing camera guy. His name is Josh. We outsourced there. We knew that we didn't have those editing skills, so we outsourced. The list goes on. We have a bookkeeper, an accountant. List goes on. So we understood, what our opportunities were and how we had to exploit those and really just capitalize on that. Okay. So the next thing would be too is hire people. I already touched up on that. So we hired a lot of people within our business. So if it's something that you need to do, don't be afraid to hire people. You have to hire people in order to grow as a business. You're not going to be able to do it all by yourself. I know you're thinking that, with the ego and everything, but trust me, save yourself the pain, the time, the stress, all that stuff, okay? And hire people. Don't be afraid, but take your time with the hiring process and find, that A team, which I'm getting into next. Build an A team. Find those people that are going to help you grow, that believe in your brand, believe in your message, want to be a part of your legacy, and just hire those people. Give them a shot. Only, maybe do it for like a 90-day probation, type thing. You don't have to, if they're not good and they're not resonating with you, that's fine. Move on to the next one, but don't be afraid to look for people and ask for help. The next topic would be collaborate. Again, like let's say you have a really good YouTube channel, or you want to start a YouTube channel. The best thing you could probably do is collaborate with people that have bigger YouTube channels. That's just the way I'm going to really just use that example. If you have a business and you have a really good business plan and you know that somebody else does, that's part of your competition, you might want to reach out to that competition and possibly collaborate with them and just build that and see if you can just capitalize on something there. And the last one would be hustle. Hustle, hustle, hustle. It's a never-ending, game when it comes to the sport of business. And Mark Cuban said this the best, that there is no off-season when it comes to business. There really isn't. So hustling is a 24/7, 365-day thing. You have to be able to hustle and be willing to hustle each and every day when it comes down to building your business.
I want to give you guys an example too of hustle, right? So let's say you guys are trying to network with people. This is something we started doing, and I think that it is a very good example and explanation of what hustle is, right? So we have a spreadsheet that has our A-list players on there, okay? We have the other department on the Excel sheet that says our street team, right? And that doesn't mean anything as far as like we're sitting there comparing like the A players to like the street team or anything like that. There's no superiority or anything like that. It's just different categories. So we keep a list like that because if we ever meet somebody, we put them in one of those sections. We put on there what date we met them, what the conversation was about, why we want to sit there and keep them in our list, and then we try to reach out with them. So we build that rapport and we end up reaching back out, and maybe they need our help or we need their help. So it's just another form of hustling, okay? So another thing is if you guys want to do like an Instagram type of thing and you want to build your account, maybe you go down the hashtags. Maybe you're selling wine or something like that. So you look at all the hashtags within wine and you reach out to different companies and you send them their wine and say, hey, shout out my wine, and then you'll sit there and plug like a link to go back to your guys' website or something like that. It's just about hustling, little things like that. It's doing the small things that other people don't want to do. So if we go on to the letter T, we have threats. So one of the biggest things within business and threats is your competitors. So we can get into this whole thing where we kind of compare ourselves to our competitors, and it can be a good or a bad thing because it can mess with your mind as far as you can have envy towards your competitors, or it could be a good thing where you're like, hey, they're doing something really good, why can't I kind of emulate what they're doing and put my own twist to it? So I would say always research your competitors and see what they're doing, and maybe you can emulate something that they're missing out on and capitalize on that. If you don't have any money, of course that's a threat, right? Because you can't really do anything. So something you can do is you can either look at a way to kind of raise money, do some sort of funding to raise money to do your startup or whatever your project is or something like that. Another way is you can go the venture capitalist way and look for investors, but it's not a very good thing because you're always going to have in the back of your mind you have that debt that you have to pay back to them, and it's like, what if you don't end up paying them back, and then you get yourself into a lot of trouble. And then fear of failure is a big threat too, because we always have this in our subconscious about failing, right? We sit there and think that we're not going to be able to fulfill our dreams, we're not going to be able to fulfill our goals, we're not good enough, there's somebody else out there that's better than us doing the job, and we end up having this fear of failure. I would say the last thing for threats is comparing yourself to others. I kind of talked about that with the competitors. It could be a good thing and a bad thing. So you just have to be self-aware on whether you sit there and compare yourself to other people in a good way or a bad way.
And one last thing I want to just touch up on when Chris talked about the no money issue when it comes to threats. I know this is a huge thing too, but a lot of people are afraid to use credit cards, and credit cards are not a bad thing. I know they can be the enemy if you choose to use them the wrong way. But one of our mentors taught us that there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. So if you're investing on a business, if you're investing on yourself to get better or develop more skills, that is fine. Get a credit card, you'll pay that thing back. Get a zero interest credit card, start building that up. That there's no excuse that you can't do something just because you don't have the money. Don't use that credit card on materials, clothes, go party, stuff like that. That's an example of bad debt. So, I just want to throw that out there, that there's no reason not to use, a credit card if you're investing in yourself or your business. Alrighty guys, so thank you very much for tuning into this video. Hopefully you guys took some really good nuggets out of it. So once again, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, all within the context of business. So try to apply some of the things we talked about and go take action. Thanks for watching the video, and make sure you guys click the link below to access our video on how to build a 6-figure online fitness coaching business without ever having to step foot in the gym. Click below and watch the webinar.